Hi, ladies. Welcome to High Heels and Destiny. As you all know, this channel focuses on spiritual inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. I focus on taking women from their pain to purpose. Today, this is part two, and we have Nicole R. Smith, motivational speaker, and author Nicole Smith back on board. We want to come back and we didn't want to leave you guys hanging. We want to come back and give you guys a part two and just let you know how the story ends. The beginning don't never look like the end. It's just like a book. When you start reading a book, chapter one start off one way, but the end always get better. So we could not leave you guys empty-handed without telling you guys what the remaining of the story is. So when we left off on the last video, basically we was talking about Nicole had went through her second divorce. She got married at 21, divorced at 23. Then she got married again in her 30s. That one didn't work. And finally now that she had found the love of her life. But before that, before finding her current husband, she met someone. She met this guy. He was great. And we're going to pick up from now. Nicole, tell us what happened after you got married, after you divorced the second time. You met this next guy before your husband. Let them know what happened.
Okay, so I'm gonna rewind back to Chicago really quick. So we decided to separate, and Chicago was cold, so I was like, I'm done. So I left, and I came back down to Miami. And so I had been here for a while before I met Peter. And before him, there was just a series of people that had come into my life. And just because of the patterns and everything that I had learned from, like I adopted like the 3-month rule. I'm like, I kind of just wait and hold on and don't make any decisions before 3 months, because right at about 3 months, people start to show themselves. And one of the things I always like to say is when people show themselves, believe it, but don't, oh, people like, oh, but no, if when people show themselves, believe it, because it's on, because those first 3 months are supposed to be trying to impress you. So if you're seeing all this in those first 3 months, it's not going to get any better. I'm just letting you know. So there's often, there were quite a few, but I got very determined about what I was and was not going to put up with. And so there are many people who did. Well, I didn't make it. I wasn't like dating all bunch of people either, but there was a lot that I was like, oh, you got to go. You got to go. You got to go. And it was just, and kind of like I was talking about the last time, I was like, I was like, Lord, am I really asking for a lot? Like, just, do you have a job and you don't live in your mom's house? Like, let's start with that. Like, why is that so hard? Right. And then, are you responsible, and are you a genuinely nice person? Like, you would think that I was asking for something, I wasn't like, you have to be making 6 figures and driving this kind of car and da 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 da. I need you to have a full-time job that you're going to and be a nice person. So, it was like no after no after no after no after no. So then one day a friend of mine from work was like, I'm having a cookout, like picnic in my backyard. Do you want to come? And I'm like, sure, because I'm never turning down free food. So so what I didn't know is that him and another friend of ours they were like working together because they were trying to get us together, but I didn't know that. So they invited me to the picnic. They invited him to the picnic. And we get there and it was like, oh, okay, there could be something here. And it was one of those things, where everybody was just vibing and, it seemed to be well. And because where we live in Miami, there's never any parking anywhere. So even though we were at my friend's house, Peter had to park like down the street at the grocery store because there was no parking. And they were like, Nicole, since you have to go home that way anyway, would you mind dropping Peter off to his car? And sure, of course. So, I drop him off. And then, I don't hear from him from like for a week. And I was just like, whatever. So long story short, he ends up asking me out, and we go out to dinner. It was great. And, he was upfront with me, and he said, he's like, I just want to let you know um, that I do have stage 4 cancer. And, he's like, I just want to be upfront with you and let you know that at a time. And honestly, at that time, I really didn't even know what that meant. I was like, okay, because he didn't look sick, he didn't act sick. He was like picture of health as far as I was concerned. Had he not said anything, I would have never known. Because on TV they show people with cancer and they just look, dredged out and just, like they look like death. Like he didn't look like that, like at all. And so I was like, well, I mean, that's fine. I was like, the fact of the matter is, I may not even like you in 3 months, so it may not matter. And so that was how we got started. And so we just, we started dating and everything was going great. And he was on his regular like medication that he was taking, and then he had been fine. And then to make a very long story short, he did end up eventually passing. Like it was kind of unexpected because he had been doing so well for so long, and it kind of just happened. It just took for a turn out of the blue. Nobody was expecting it.
How long was
So,
it? Was it like, how long did he pass away after you guys had been dating? Like, was it a
so
year, 2 years?
it was about 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I had to deal with a lot was that it was only 8 or 9 months, but his sister was so gracious, and she was like, it may have been only 8 or 9 months. She's like, but you changed him for a lifetime. And she was like, it wasn't so much the length of time, it was the depth of life that you gave him in those months, that it might as well have been longer than that, which really meant a lot to me. Because some people, if I were like, oh, it was only 8 or 9 months, like, girl, please, whatever. But when he found out, like, or as he was trying to as they were trying all different medications and things like that, and he was kind of coming to grips with like, this may not be working. People's mindsets change. Like when you know that your days are numbered, your mindset change. You approach everything different. You appreciate everything in your life. Well, at least he did, because not everybody's like that. So without getting like into it too deeply, it may have only been 8 months in length of time, but the depth of the bond that we had in those 8 months, it was almost like everything happened exponentially faster, because we didn't have time for games. We didn't have time to be, playing around and acting a fool and, oh, am I going to call you? Oh, no, I'm not going to. Like, we didn't have that kind of time. Like, right. He was like, I want to enjoy my life to the fullest the way it is. So he did that. So, so he passed away. It was tragic and traumatic. And I just was like, Lord, this is cruel. Like, I was so purposeful on being very careful about who I let into my life and holding up to a standard and all of these things, for this person to come in and like blow the screen door off of the barrier that I had, and to penetrate my heart in the way that he did. And then he passed away. I was like, and I've never really been mad at God, but I did let him know. I was like, I was really hurt, and I was like, that's really cruel. And I mean, I could talk to you about it now, but then it was tragic. And I was like, Lord, why would you do that? Why? Because we were like, he was doing so well, and he was actually like kind of getting better at one point, and like it was like he was gonna recover, and like we had conversations. He was like, you know what, I'm gonna marry you. He was like, but I'm not gonna put a ring on your finger until until the radiation is done. He was like, that will be the thing that we do when da 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 da. Well, it never got to that point. So around that time, it was crazy because I was like, Lord, this is cruel. I don't, why? And that's part of, after he passed away, I was like, what kind of legacy am I going to leave after I die? And what kind of effect am I going to have on this world after I die? And that's when I kind of started thinking, and that's kind of where the thought to write the book came from. My book came on, and it was so as I was trying to deal with the healing of losing him and dealing with all of this, part of it was writing the book. And it got to the part of the book, like there was a last part of the payment of the book that had to be made in order for the book to be able to go to print. And I had no idea where the money was going to come from. And I was just like, you know, Lord, I'm just trusting you, et cetera, et cetera. About 3 or 4 months later, right when the money was due for the book to go to publish, I get a check in the mail. Peter had left me money that I didn't know about, that was able to complete the book for it to go into production. So it was like throughout the whole thing, God had everything. He was orchestrating everything. I'm not necessarily saying he was orchestrating him to die, but he was working behind the scenes to bring everything together. And Peter is now part of my story and part of my testimony. And God took something that was so tragic and used it to be so beautiful. And what I learned so much from that experience. And the most important thing that I learned was, again, hold to your standards. That reminder from God, again, that you are a child of the Most High. Do not settle, do not accept anything less. And so, but then the other thing, I was like, well, Lord, you know, you put the bar so high, who's going to be able to live up to that? So now I'm convinced. I'm just like, all right, I don't know if I'm ever going to find anybody ever again, because he had set the bar so high. So I tried dating after that. Again, it went back to the whole 3-month thing. I was seeing things even faster than I was before, because now I know what love is. Now I know what sacrifice and what somebody who really loves and puts you first. Now I know what it really is. So at this point, it didn't even take 3 months anymore. I could spot it instantly. But I would still give it the 3 months just to be, just to see, and maybe, whatever. But so if I was like careful before, I was even more careful now of who I was going to let in. And then so along comes Mahendra, and we had met like a long time ago, before, like almost 10 years earlier. He was working, I was working. We were both working like for different companies, but we were both working in like at the same like vendor for something. We had met, whatever, lost touch. So about 2.5 years ago, 2.5, maybe 3, I don't know. I can't even, the time goes by. I get this phone call, and it's him. And he was like, I'm just checking in and just seeing how you do it. And I'm on the phone like, okay, hey, like super like skeptical, because I'm like, why are you calling me? Why are you calling me? And so he had then asked me out, and I was like, okay. So we got together, we talked, and like, we'll see, we'll see how it happens, see what happens. Because, it's still my 3-month rule, because, it doesn't matter that I knew you from, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. What made him different, because since the last person, excuse me, since the last person set the bar so high, what made him different? And did he meet the last bar that the last person inside?
So here's the thing. At first, I didn't know, right? That's why I was like, I'm just going to sit back and watch. One of the things that caught my attention that was huge was something as simple as he did what he said. If he said, I'm going to call you later, he did. If he said, I'm going to show up at such and such a time, he did. Just little things, like he literally did what he said, because we all know how many, oh yeah, baby, I'm going to call you later. You don't hear from them for like 3 weeks. And then they call back and be like, hey girl, and you like nothing happened. And like, you said you were gonna call me 3 weeks ago. Or you send that text message, right? And then the dots is like dot, and then no message comes back. And you're sitting here like, what happened? You know, I sent you the text message, you can't answer. Just like, I didn't have to deal with none of that kind of drama. Like none of that kind of drama. He was thoughtful. So all of these things, very similar to Peter. It was, yes, you know, so, but again, I was like, I'm gonna wait, because, you know, 3 months starts to, you know, and then like 3 months passed and I was like, and then 4 months passed and 5 months passed. And I didn't have that urge to walk away like I usually have, because usually I know within 2 months and I break it off at 3 months, because at that point I can't handle it. But he kept showing up. He kept showing up. And just one of the most thoughtful, caring, amazing people. And I would have never, I just would have never expected it. And one of the things that makes this so beautiful is that we culturally, we have the same cultural background. He's actually from Guyana, but it's very, you know, so it has a very Caribbean background, and my background is Jamaican and Panamanian. So like what makes it different, not better, but what makes it different than what I had with Peter is that like a lot of our music is the same. There's a lot of like cultural things that I don't have to explain, because he just gets and understands it. Like the other day we were doing something and he made a joke from a song that, had he not been from the same cultural background that I was, like somebody else would have never gotten it. Never. But it was like, because he knows that there's a layer of familiarity that just makes the relationship that much better, because we could joke about things that we both know about. And
so let me ask you this, Nicole. After you guys met each other, you guys started dating. How long did it take before you guys decided you was gonna get married, or he proposed?
So how long did it take? So, okay. So part of this is, for me, because of the mindset, because of the upbringing that I had and everything, like I date to marry, right? I'm not dating just to
dating with a purpose.
Yes. I'm not like, oh, I'm just out here, or I'm just going to move in with you. And like, hey, and if you move in and live with somebody, that's cool. That's, if you're able to do that with your conviction, cool. But my conviction would not allow me to do it, because the way I understand and the way that I believe is that your covering comes when you're married. And if you are not married and living together, there's that covering that you don't have. It's just how I believe. You know, you do what you need to do, but that's just what was important for me. And so, so as it got more and more serious and I don't know. So I think probably after about a year, we had kind of started talking about it, maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8 months. But I was also very cautious, because I was like, I'm not trying to really rush into anything. But we were just getting along so well. And it was getting to the point where it's like, man, you know, it would be a lot easier if we lived together, because I was spending so much time at his house. He was spending so much time at my house. And I was like, oh, you know, we have to, it was just getting harder. So,
how long have y'all been married, Nicole?
So not long.
Okay.
Not long. We got married on New Year's Eve of 2020.
Okay.
So it's been 3 months.
Okay.
But we had, but we've been
No, it's been more than 3 months.
dating for
20, it's 2021.
yeah, so December 31st. So like basically January 1st of this year, because it was 12/31 of 2020, New Year's Eve. So it was basically January 1st of this year.
Oh, I was thinking you were talking about January 1st of 2020, not 2021.
No.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's just been a few months. This has been just
okay.
a few months. But and the whole time, right? Because I also know of like my past. I am not trying to go through this again. Like I want to make sure I'm doing it right. And part of the requirement that I had was that we have to go through premarital counseling. That's definitely one thing that I did differently than the past. It was definitely going through premarital counseling, and I know that some people go through premarital counseling and they still end up divorced.
I mean, because I went through it and I still end up divorced, but I think that it's necessary and I think that it's important because when you go through premarital counseling, it opened up everything. Like it gets down to the rooted to the two, like stuff that you're like, I ain't think about that. I ain't think about that. So I was like, it's not that important. Like I always advise people to do it because it really touch bases on so many levels that either you're gonna walk out and say, you know what, I do not like him and I want to marry him, are you going to walk on and saying, I want to marry him? It's going to do one or the two, but it's necessary. It's very necessary. I definitely, I encourage it.
It was very, like, just like you said, eye-opening, and things that you just never even thought about, things that you might be afraid to talk about that you're like, oh, I don't necessarily want to bring that up, but like they go into all of it. You're like, whoa, sometimes it's actually uncomfortable. Or you're like, oh, but I think it is very necessary. And so it opened up our eyes both to some things that we needed to work on. And what I love about it is like it's not going to prevent anything, but I think it fixes the vision that you have and fixes the perception, because you tend to be like, oh, we're so in love and da 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 da, and premarital counseling goes, bam, this is where you really are. And if you want to make it, these are the things that walking into this, you're going to have to be willing to work on. Right. It's kind of like a sober. It like wakes you up. It gets you out of the fairy dust. But so that was one of the things that we did. But then we just committed to communicating with each other. And it's not easy because, like I've said before, marriages work. Marriages work. But what I have found different in him is he is willing to work, because there were times where I just knew, I just like, I just knew he was gonna be like, you know what, I don't want to do this, and I would have understood because we all know we can push some buttons. Look, don't act like we don't. I know buttons to push, and I have been known to push them, and I have fully expected him to be like, I want to do this. But then he didn't. And then I felt really convicted. And I knew it was okay. I know I need to work on that. Right. So taking responsibility for that and doing my part to be better in terms of what he needs. And then we had talked about it yet the other day, praying and asking God to, fix that. And God is like, how about we take care of you first? Then we'll work on it.
Oh, like, girl. Yes, that always happens. Because we can always look at them and we can have that face like, ugh. But God, like, I can do a work in you, because the Bible says sanctified wife make a sanctified husband. So once he do that work in us, we can sanctify them also too. So what does love look like to you? What is your definition of love?
Love is listening and doing your best to meet the need of the other person. Because it's not always about you. It
Mhm.
is it's those little things like, what can I do to make their life a little bit better, easier, or to show that I care, outside of myself. Um, and that's hard. It's very difficult, especially because I can be very much a giver, right? I will give, 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 give. And that was one of the things that I had to learn, because early in life, I dated a lot of takers, right? There's a lot of people, just as much as I'm a giver, there's a lot of people who are takers. And I was always giving so much and never getting back what I was giving. So I had to be very, very careful of not to give of myself so much until I knew that the person was deserving and that they would give back the same.
Mhm.
And so, and he is that person. He is very much, sometimes I almost feel bad. I feel like, dang, he outgives me. Like, what? Okay, so, and I don't necessarily mean in gifts, just even in service and, the things that he tries to look out for to make sure that I'm okay and things like that. Like, I'm like, dang, I got to step up my game, because
Mhm.
he's just out giving, he is out serving me. And I can't let that happen. So that is, that is what love is. I think it's making the sacrifice of
Mhm.
what is needed for that, to meet the need that that person needs to feel loved, if that makes sense.
Mhm. And another thing I think is very important is that marriage is kind of almost like it's like Christ denying yourself, because you can't go into marriage as this person, this my way, this how we gonna do it. If he don't do this, I ain't doing that. Because if he do this, I am gone. Like, it's gonna be marriage. You have to completely deny yourself. Denying yourself does not mean mistreating yourself and going without, but denying yourself, saying, okay, this is how I believe, but I'm gonna compromise. And if this is what it's gonna take to make him happy, this is what I'm gonna do. And also being in a place of like, you don't always have it figured out. You can't. We get so accustomed to, well, this is how I was raised. This is how I want to do things. This is how it's supposed to do. If you don't do it like this, then I'm out of this piece. Like, it's gonna be times where you're gonna be like, oh my God, like, you're gonna feel hurt, because you're gonna be like, okay, if this really worth the argument? Is it worth
Right.
me arguing with him, or should I just allow, even though it may be something you really strong about, really passionate about, and they may be wrong, but just to make things work, sometimes you have to be like, you know what, this not even worth the battle. Like, I'm not gonna even fight this battle.
Right. Right. You pick and choose your battles.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that whole denying self,
Mm-hmm.
it is so true. And because somebody said the other day, um, it's, you have to make the determination, is the
Mm-hmm.
real is the real what is more important, the quality and the wholeness of the relationship, or being right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes being right is not
Always
worth it
important. It's not.
or necessary, right? It's just like, oh, sometimes it's just okay.
But you know
It's
what?
not
One thing about it, marriage build your true characteristics. Like, you may think, hey, I'm grown, I'm this, I'm that. But marriage really builds your relationship in Christ, because it strengthens you in so many ways versus when you're single. When you're single, it's kind of easy kind of to navigate because it's just you. But when you marry, you got to change some things, your attitude, the way you see it's a reflection of Christ. Like, you have to, if you want a successful marriage, shall I say, and you in it really to win it, and you want it to work, like, you have to deny so many things, and you change, you learn patience, you learn how to be kind, you learn so many things, how to shut your mouth sometimes, not to have the last word, you're not always right, all that stuff you learn. And these are things, when you're single, you could just do what you want to do, you ain't got to be held accountable. But in order for you to be married and to be in a successful marriage, you may have to shut up. You used to just running your mouth, but you may have to shut up, and then maybe whoever you want to say something, you to be like, is it worth it?
right.
You have to make so many compromises in your marriage to make it work.
But the beautiful thing is, the return on investment is so worth it, and is
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful, right? Because yes, it does take a lot of work, and it is a lot of dying to self, and it is, yes, because the way we talk about it, somebody's probably like, well, why I even want to get married then? You have to go through all of that. But it's those times that you share together, love together, laugh together, enjoy life together, that so outweighs the work. And when you put the work in, I know it sounds crazy, but the more work you put in, the less work you'll have to do. Meaning, if you are constantly dying to self, constantly working on what you're supposed to be doing and holding your tongue, not to ever say that you can't express how you feel, but maybe it's just not the right time, maybe it's not the right tone, maybe you should wait till you calm down before you say what you need to say. But what that does is it builds trust and it builds relationship, and now you guys are both working on things, and now that stuff that you mentioned, maybe in a year it's not even an issue anymore because you worked through it, and now you're moving forward and you're growing. And but it's called growing pains for a reason, right? Things like what, especially when kids are younger and they're going through growth spurt, and like their bones ache and things like that, or when you're growing, you sometimes you have stretch marks. Some growth is pain, but it also means that you're growing, and growth is so important. And so yes, you're going to have some struggles, yes, it's going to be hard, but the beauty of it, like look at a plant. When a plant grows, it ends up blossoming, right? And it produces fruit, and you can eat of that fruit. And that's what that work that you're doing in your marriage is. It's working towards that growth so you can eat of the fruit later. That's exactly what it is.
So, Nicole, we're going to wrap it up. If you had to say something to encourage someone that's going through a divorce, someone that maybe have been divorced once, and I hear a lot of ladies say, you know, it's no men out here. A lot of women is giving up on hope, as far as finding, somebody. And I always tell people, people always say, it's a shortage of men out here. And I say, it's not a shortage of men, because God, when it comes to God, there's no such thing as shortage. God have always been a supplier. So the men are out there, it's just about positioning yourself in timing.
Right.
With it happening. But what can you say to someone that going through a divorce and feel like they just can't live anymore, it may never happen again, and for someone that's possibly giving up on love?
So what I heard this amazing statement, and it says, if you believe it, then it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe that there are no men out there and you'll never find love, then you are absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you believe that there is somebody out there and that healing is possible and that you are open to love, then you are also absolutely right. So the choice is yours. But if you are going through it, heal, allow yourself to heal, and don't give up hope. If that is what you really, really want, is to spend life with somebody and enjoying life, don't give up hope, and just know and trust that our Father knows what he's doing and is in control. But until that, because you have to leave your heart open. Right now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a locked door and a screen door in front of it, but you still have to be open to it, right? Because then you can at least, you open the front door, but still leave the screen door, because you're not letting everything in. You still got to screen and filter, but you still have to be open to it. But if you are right now in the midst of it and you're going through it, and you may even think, I don't even want to deal with this anymore, and that's also okay. If you don't ever want it again, that is also okay. But don't make a lifetime decision in a moment of hurt. So work through it. Feel the hurt. Allow yourself to hurt, right? Don't, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, it didn't bother me, and da 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 da. Don't do that. Let it out. But what you also have to do is give yourself whatever that amount of time is, but then you have to practice moving forward. You have to forgive, regardless of whatever it is, because if you don't, the only thing that's going to eat up is you. And especially if you have kids together, that is going to filter down through your kids, and it's just going to create a toxic environment. And you just don't want that, because you are worth more than toxicity. So allow yourself to hurt, allow yourself to heal, allow yourself to forgive, and do not give up on hope, because you will have whatever it is you believe.
I completely agree. And like I said yesterday on a previous video, don't get focused. Don't wake up every day focus on a man. Focus on your life. Focus on purpose. Do what it is that God have you called to do. Whatever it takes for you to do to become a wife, start practicing that stuff now. Because oftentimes I see in marriages when people get married, now they're trying to do the stuff that they could supposed to pre-did, doing this, doing that. If you don't know how to cook now, start going to YouTube, start learning how to cook now. If you're not keeping your house clean, start doing that stuff now. You need to start doing these things now, getting yourself in position, because what happened is we out of order, but then we want God to send us our Boaz, but we're out of order. And then when we get married, now we have to go back and redo we have to waste time learning how to do this, we could have learned how to do some of this stuff, some of the basic things that we need to know how to do. Let's go ahead and start doing it now.
Right.
You can't say you won't. Go ahead.
It's because it says a man who finds a good wife finds a good thing, not a man who finds a woman, not a man who finds a person who their hair is on point and their nails are on point, but they can't take care of the house, right? Like, or they're not in that mindset of what the wife is supposed to be doing. A man who finds a good wife. So taking that time to prepare yourself to be that. Absolutely. Not, it's not always so much, oh, what can you do for me? What are you bringing to the table? What makes you a viable candidate for him to want to bring you to the table? You know what I mean? So,
and let's go back to that verse. The verse said, a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. It says a man that wants a wife finds. That means we don't go looking. That means he finds us. That don't mean we out lurking. And I always say to my friends, like, women, we are so beautiful and so powerful, and we eliminate the power that we have when it comes to men. Like when I be watching shows and they may bring out some bachelors and the women's like, oh, and I've never been the type of woman to do that, because I'm like, I'm the bomb. The Bible said the man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So why do we be the one be like, oh my God, oh, he's cute. Like, we supposed to have the men dripping on us like that, but we're so dripping at the mouth. And I'm like, I have never been that type, like in my adult life. Like when I see men, like I'm like, oh my God, girl, he's so cute. I'm like, I am rocking. I am the prize, So I think women, we got to get to a place that we realize that we are the prize. We have so much power than what we realize, and we let go of the prize and the power, P1 and P2. We let this stuff go because we don't realize that we are the prize. When you understand it, then you will think different. You do things different because I'm the prize. When you meet a guy, you'll be like, oh my God, he's so fine. Oh, girl, he met me. No, you need to have him thinking like, oh, I met her, man. She's so. That's how it's supposed to be. It ain't supposed to be you dripping, dropping out at the mouth. Ooh. That's backwards. I don't get that. I don't rock with that. I feel like when a man see me, he be like, oh man, look, I met this girl, blah, blah, blah. You ain't gonna get that from me. Like, oh my God, girl, I met him. And woo, woo, woo. No. I get frustrated. I hate to see women do that. You know how like you watch Steve Harvey and he bring the bachelors out there and the women's like, oh, and you're like, wait a minute, no, that's thirsty. I'm one of the type of people, I may think it or feel it, but you ain't gonna know that. I ain't gonna express it. Like, oh my God, girl, he's cute. Woo. I don't understand. We are the prize. Let's say it.
Yes.
We are the prize.
We are the prize. The prize.
Yes.
Yes.
Get a dance going. We are.
Yes. 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 Know your worth.
Yes.
Know your worth. Know your worth.
Yes.
No, that's out. Know your worth.
Yes.
And if you don't know it, find out. Look, call her, email her, get resources onto where, because you have to understand you deserve nothing less than the best. Nothing less than that. And anything that is going to attack you or bring you down or demean you in any way, something as small as, hey, I'm gonna call you, and then they don't know your worth. You are worth somebody keeping their word to you. And if that's not enough for them to do that, next, keep it moving.
And the other thing, what time is he calling you? Is he at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? If it
Girl.
ain't look, that don't count. If he's trying to take you out to eat, spend time with you, taking you to dinner, showing you like, hey, I like you, I want to be with you. Like, because I think oftentimes women, we forget that we are the prize, and it's like, they start to settle. They settle. Well, he called me, we ain't got to go on no date. That ain't that serious. Don't always be doing house dates where you just sit up in the house with him. No, get up out the house. He got to take you somewhere. Ain't nothing all that sitting up in the house. And you got to, when it comes to men, you got to have some type of expectation. If you don't expect nothing, then you don't get nothing.
Don't get nothing.
You don't get anything.
Okay?
Nothing.
Yes.
I don't care if you don't like going out to eat. If he say he gonna take you, get your behind up, put your clothes on, and go out to eat. Like, go out to eat. Don't be just sitting up in the house just doing house dates, and then months later you're like, well, we ain't been nowhere. But that's what you have to show him along the way, that you don't require anything.
Yes.
So he don't give you anything. It's important. Oh, Holy Ghost stump.
Girl, yes. Yes.
Oh, yes. We are everything. We are everything. And women need to know we are everything. And we in this world now, and we get off track, but we just in this world now. And I'm like, I was talking to a guy, and I can't remember exactly what we was talking about. And he was like, we was talking about women and the way they dress. And he was like, he don't even, it used to be a point in time where we show the look cleavage, and the men like, ooh. But it's like now women, daytime clothes look like nighttime clothes, to where it used to be a point where men would turn their head, and look at us if we just showed a little this up here. But now we have come to the place of debating ourselves so much that men don't even turn, because we walking around naked all the time, and I was telling my friend, I was like, oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be easy for me to date again, because I'm different. I got clothes on, everybody else don't. So it's going to jump me up on the ladder, So, we got to get to this place of respecting ourselves. If we want a husband, we can't be dressing like, I'm gonna say how nicely I can say this. We can't be dressing like something we don't want to be perceived as. Because if you dress that way, the guy will be like, oh, I want to make her my wife. She's dressed like, and I want to make her my wife. No, he gonna say, I want to smash. I want to have sex with her. So we just got to use a little bit more common sense, even though common sense is not coming.
It sure ain't.
Use some common sense. What kind of pictures are we posting on social media? Are we posting pictures that look like I want to be a wife, or are we posting pictures like, I want to take her home, I'm gonna call her,
right, right, and then get mad when they approach you like that. I was like, well, but you can't put it out there like that and not expect them to respond a certain way and then get upset. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
There's something to be said about modesty. Give them, it's the difference between, like, on Christmas, just giving you the gift, or wrapping it and putting the bow on it, the anticipation of opening the gift to see what's underneath there. That's what the difference is. Right? Because especially if it's sitting under the tree and it's unwrapped, you don't even have to pick it up. You can walk by the tree because you already know what it is. But if it's wrapped, you have to pick it up. You're not really sure. You're curious. You want to know. You're looking at it. You're trying to figure out what it is. Oh, can I open it? It builds that anticipation. Give them something to look forward to. And plus, they're not that, why give them that? Make them earn it. Make them earn that. And if they don't want to work for it, then you don't want it, because you don't want anybody who does not feel like you are worth the work. Goodbye.
It all go back to self-worth. It definitely self-worth. when you value yourself as a woman, can't nobody take that from you. I don't care if it's 50 women out there butt naked and they got all this type of stuff. I ain't gonna do that because I already know what I'm rocking with. I'm very confident within myself as a woman. So I'm still gonna pull. And if I don't pull, that means that I don't want to pull with them because they wasn't meant for me to pull anyway.
Exactly.
So it just kind of help you kind of like it kind of just kind of help you like, okay, well, if these guys approaching these women, but they ain't approaching me, then like, dang, well, that's good because you don't want them. If that's what they want, then you don't want them. You keep on going by your business. That just go ahead and put you in a whole nother bracket. You ain't got to worry about homeboy right there.
Yep.
It's a whole conversation for a whole different topic.
Yeah. But we won't do a part 3 though. We won't do a part 3, but yes, it is a whole different conversation.
We have to do this this won't be a part 3. If we did, we have to do just a whole nother video.
Like a series, like it's just we do a series. Just do a series.
Yes. So Nicole, I want to thank you so much for just coming on. And I wish you so much love, success, happiness in your business, in your marriage, and blessings upon blessings upon blessings. And I'm just excited. I am excited. How old is your daughter now, Nicole? Do you mind me asking?
No, I don't mind. She's 23. She just recently graduated from Tuskegee University, HBCU graduate. Ooh.
Okay.
So yeah, so she's, out of the house. And that was also a really important aspect of, I kind of wanted to wait again until she was kind of out and on her own before I got married again, because I didn't want to go through that and just bring a whole nother person into her life. So yeah, there's a lot of those different things, but yeah, she's doing great and I'm very, very proud of her. And it was so funny because we literally just had the modesty talk yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, hey, that's another topic. But that should be something we may do a video on one day. Modesty. Oh, that's good. Modesty.
We should do it. Maybe even a panel, get some people. Let's have that discussion. Why is it so important? Why, yes. Mm-hmm. I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
There's beauty in modesty. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's beauty in modesty.
It is. So I want to thank you for coming on. And once again, leave your information. Okay, if they want to contact you, your website, Facebook, let's go ahead and
all social media platforms at Nicole R. Smith Net. I have a podcast. If you go to NicoleRSmith.com, you'll see it up there. It's called From the Suggestion Box. So each week we're just talking about getting negative feedback and how to respond to it and how to overcome it. My journals are there. Anything that I can do to inspire you to remain encouraged no matter what you're doing. If you're a professional woman, and you feel like your voice is not heard in the office, get the journal. It encourages you. I tell people I encourages them from the boardroom to the classroom, wherever you need to feel like you need to be empowered. That is why it's there. So again, here we go, across all platforms at Nicole R. Smith Net, or you can find me www.NicoleRSmith. What is it? What is my email? Or what is it? www.NicoleRSmith.net. That's what it is. Okay. Yeah, I would love to hear from you. Please reach out to me, tag me in a post. I hope this helped in some shape or form. So that's all that really matters. Even if it was one person that it helped, that then the purpose of this was met.
Okay. Well, now you guys, you have it. And so we're going to go. Okay. So thank you so much, Nicole. And you have a fabulous Friday.
Thank you.
And happy Easter.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.